So I'm going to talk just a bit about how to practice your arpeggios and your scales on the mandolin using our JamAlong single chord backing tracks that basically play the same key over and over and over again. Think of it as a sugar-coated metronome where you actually have that steady beat, but also you have the timing that you can play off of. So for example, if we were to start in the people's key of G, the tools we're going to choose to practice are a G scale and a G arpeggio. Okay, so first, of course, you'll want to make sure you know the G scale and G arpeggio. If you don't, you know where to go to find it. So let's say you have your G scale. Let's do an upper extension just for kicks, and then back down. And then our G arpeggio. Minute fraction of music theory, it's the 1, 3, and 5 of the scale. So we're just playing the triad melodically or in succession. That's the G arpeggio. And here's our brief disclaimer. When you play against these backing tracks, if the tempo's too fast, of course, you know you can adjust it with our tempo variator, but you can also double up your notes. So let's say you had a rather fast tempo going for your arpeggio. That's standard time. If I was to do it double time, it would be a bit challenging. So I could double up the notes and it still play that faster tempo and probably survive. See what I mean? So one of the tricks we can use is to double up the notes in the scale or the arpeggio. Works for a scale too. Here's my scale with doubled notes. For some reason, it kind of slows down the harmonic feeling while keeping the same speed of the exercise. So now we're going to go and listen to the single chord jam in the key of G, and I'm going to show you the workout we're going to be doing with the scales and the arpeggios. So we're playing our G backing track. Here's my G scale played straight time. So on and so forth. Now I'm going to double up the notes. All right, now the G arpeggio. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on and so forth. Let's try that same process for the key of D. Here we go, key of D, D scale. D arpeggio. Now I'm going to try to do the D scale double time. Here's straight time. There's double time. So obviously if I double notes, I'll increase my odds of survival. All the while staying in time with that backing track. Okay? Now, here's where the fun comes in. As you know, it gets ultimately boring to just recite the arpeggios and recite the scales. We want it to make more like we're jamming out, like we're improvising. So this is where patterns come in. We can use scale patterns to basically start to create all sorts of color in the arpeggios and the scales. So let's say we're doing a scale pattern in G. That would sound like this. Scale pattern in G. Arpeggio pattern in G. So we're snaking it, we're mixing it up. And so on and so forth. So as you can see, when you practice scales or arpeggios, to sit there and play them in a vacuum is rather useless. If you play along with the single chord backing tracks, that not only gives you the beat, but it gives you the tonality of the chord to play along with. So it's much more like real life jamming. So that way, when you think a technique like a scale, you're no longer just thinking reciting do, re, mi. You're thinking you've got that beat, you're playing along, and you all of a sudden realize you can double time it. Back to single, arpeggio, double. And eventually you'll start to have that flow of notes where you pick any key and you can have this effortless combination of scales, scale patterns, arpeggios, arpeggio patterns coming out of your mandolin. And that's really what, when you listen to the greats like Sam Bush and all those guys playing, they have that effortless stream of notes. It's not just a random stream of notes. It's built from these techniques with lots of flight time played over a beat and a key. So hop on over to JamAlong and pick up these single chord jams, and we'll see you out picking.